The person that I'm going to introduce you indeed doesn't need an introduction, but let me go back on my own memory lane to my first year as a neurology resident, I believe 2002. I was at Christchurch, New Zealand at that time. We didn't have much in the way of reading material as trainees. In fact, I was the only trainee for the whole New Zealand at that time. But Lancet Neurology was very popular at that time. I remember reading a case report of anti-GAD ataxia that Lancet Neurology published, and then we indeed diagnosed a new case and treated him exactly what Lancet Neurology has prescribed. Obviously, this particular journal is the highest impact factor journal anywhere in the world at this point of time. And we are going to meet the editor-in-chief, Lancet Neurology, friend and colleague, Dr. Elena Becker-Barroso. Very good the morning to you.
Hi, Tissa. I'm delighted to be talking to you today. I just want to mention that even though I feel very close to the work of neurologists like you, I am not a neurologist myself, but just a full-time editor.
I'm aware that we'll talk about your journey in a minute. Is it still true to say that you are still trying to live up to what late Thomas Wakeley said, that journal in Lancet, the main theme was to entertain, instruct, and reform? I think when I pick up a Lancet Neurology volume on a regular interval, I'm a regular reader, I can basically allocate all those three things. There are enough entertaining material, and there are enough instructional material, and the reform goes without saying with all the GBD papers and rest of the other things. And your support for World Brain Day campaign year after year is greatly appreciated. Elena, let's introduce you to our viewers more. This is World Federation Neurology YouTube channel. And as you know, I chair the public awareness and advocacy for World Federation Neurology for some years. Tell our viewers who you are, where your beginning was, and how did you end up as an editor? What was the journey like? Was that something that you had in your mind as a high school kid, or did it happen along the way?
Right. So yes, I said it before. I am the editor of the Lancet Neurology on a full-time basis. I've been in this role for the last 12 years now, working with the Lancet for 15 years. I started here as a senior editor, and at least in my generation, professional editors like me, we were people that unsuccessful in scientific research that chose another career path. I mean, things are possibly different for younger people now, and but that at least was my case. I was a lousy scientist. But that said, it doesn't mean that I didn't have a good education. I think if I got here, it was because of my fantastic mentors. So first of all, Dionisio Martin Zanca, who was my PhD mentor in Salamanca, and then Edward Skolnick in New York, who mentored me through my postdoctoral research. And that education instigated on me the search for excellence, and I think that has been fundamental to what we do now in the Lancet Neurology team.
I think you give us a good segue with global impact. I think striving for excellence should be the mantra wherever you are. As you know, I come from fairly rural background. I remember as a young medical student, when I myself was earning pocket money as a part-time medical journalist, I was interviewing the chair professor in medicine, who was the excellent in neurology. He had a couple of NEJM papers. He described a couple of new syndromes. I, as a sort of sheepish second year medical student, I asked from him, Professor, how hard it is to do neuroscience research, and you seems to be very busy with a truckload of patients, yet you keep writing good high quality papers. He sort of lowered his glasses and looked me in the eyes, and he said that, oh, it is very easy. You just don't settle down with unanswered questions. If you can't explain things, you just keep asking questions and keep asking questions until you get the most excellent answer to explain what is wrong with your patient and how you improve that. I think he ended up writing like very high quality 300 plus papers. Interestingly, even now when I attend WFN meetings, I mean, we can't attend physically these days because of the COVID-19, but pre-COVID era, there would always be 2 or 3 neurologists in the audience who would recognize me as a Sri Lankan and ask, by the way, did you know this particular person? He was very clever and this and that. Do you know anything about him? Of course, I keep an eye about his news, and I sort of share them with a little bit of gossip about him.
Your career path is tremendously impressive, Tissa, and I think that I reckon that mentorship is always fundamental for everyone. So I can reckon that has been the case for you, luckily. Scientifically, I explain where my mentors have been, but as an editor, my mentor, of course, is Richard Horton, and I've been extremely lucky for that, because, well, Richard Horton, being the editor-in-chief of the Lancet, has been really a role model to look up to.
He is certainly a gentleman who basically living up to what Thomas Wakley said, isn't it? He doesn't shy away from commenting on anything and everything, whether he is talking about a prime minister or president of a very powerful nation or a very straightforward scientist or a clinician. Yes. He doesn't mind. I think you're absolutely spot on. Who we are today is probably blood and sweat from not only our parents and primary school, high school teachers, but a hell of a lot of other mentors and teachers who contributed a lot. Elena, your PhD, that was in the neurobiology. Do you mind sharing your experience during your PhD journey? How stressful and how challenging that was to concentrate on a full-time PhD?
Well, it was actually quite a lot of fun. Maybe my memories at this point in life are kind of nostalgic, and I can only remember the good out of it. I did my PhD on, I focused my research on tyrosine kinase receptor. So this might sound absolutely boring and interesting, but it was not so. I think it was actually in that time molecular neurobiology. I'm talking the 90s, right? So I mean, kind of for some young people listening to us, this will be like the Jurassic Park kind of period. But that was tremendously exciting and actually the basis for I think a PhD is essential to get good training on critical thinking, and I think I luckily got that training, and that was actually reinforced during my postdoctoral research, where I had the opportunity to go on working on signaling pathways they happened to be particularly relevant in neurons. And it was so somehow working now on neurological research makes my path, I mean, full circle, because I started from a very reductionist perspective in this field, working on molecular pathways and signaling and the like, and actually in vitro models. of disease, and all the way up, if you want, to the neurological research. So I think that perspective is perhaps, well, I mean, yeah, now that I think of it, while I'm talking with you, this is possibly the reason why we select the papers that we select, even if they are clinical research.
And the other thing is, Elena, the last year, I tell the colleagues and trainees and students in particular, although I have been interested in medicine and learning medicine for well over 2 decades now, last year was the most steep learning curve for me as a sort of a never-ending student, if you like. You are thrown at a new virus that you had no idea of. There are no PhDs anywhere in the world. And we were basically learning on the job. On one hand, you needed to keep a very close eye and try and learn as best as possible. But suddenly it hit home that when the COVID-19 affect brain, it didn't take too long for us to figure out that neurological involvement in COVID-19 is indeed to be expected rather than exception. Just going by what you just said, all those molecular pathways that we learned during our biochemistry days suddenly started to make sense. Angiotensin converting enzyme receptor become a household name. The Guardian journalists were commenting about it. New Yorker was writing about it. And then NF-kappa B and how it go into cytokine storm. They actually become almost sort of household names in non-medical journalism, if you like. I think the last year basically really drew us home how the basic sciences and bedside things are interrelated. In fact, personally, it became quite prolific for us. I think our group ended up publishing some 30 plus papers last year, basically correlating relationship between stroke and COVID-19 and post-stroke issues and the post-COVID-19 issues that you publish a series and several other journals published also. I am very optimistic that once we come out of this pandemic from the other end eventually, whenever that would be, I think we would be thinking very different to the way that we used to think pre-pandemic. Elena, I'm going to divert this discussion to a different angle now. I had the good fortune of visiting your office and spending some time to see how Lancet is operating, which was like a dream come true pre-pandemic time, and we didn't break any rules. I sort of saw how sort of a professional and meticulous the paper selection and the process is. So I realized that how much the Lancet family support the theories of inflammation and papers coming from high-level research groups. How excited are you as the editor-in-chief of the most premier journal in neurology in the world to see 2 massive global organizations joining hands to advocate for multiple sclerosis? I'm talking about WFN and MSIF, with a very ambitious agenda to go well over 100 million people reach this year. That's the sort of a aim that we have. How excited are you as a scientist to begin with, full-time journalist and editor now, to see that neurologists and advocates are basically running an education agenda very different what they normally do to reach out to people to the talk about multiple sclerosis and neuroinflammation in general?
I'm tremendously excited, and I think this is a phenomenal initiative. And actually, we feel so excited about this initiative that actually we wanted to join forces with you, if we are allowed to. And I would like to mention that we are publishing an editorial in relation with World Brain Day and the dedication of this day to focus on multiple sclerosis. And this editorial that will be published in next week, actually. So it will be available for everyone on Thursday next week, on Thursday, June the 17th. Actually highlights why we think that it is very important that the societies join forces and the whole community support you on this endeavor to improve quality of life for people with MS around the globe, actually, because even though the advances in MS have been spectacular in the last 10 years, I would say, really, truly spectacular. Of course, they are still not reaching everyone. And if you allow me, I would like to quote from our editorial that reads, 2/3 of patients with MS worldwide are living in countries that do not have national guidelines for the diagnosis and treatment of the disease. So this is 2/3 of the total population of MS in the world, and the estimated population is around 3 million people, right? So this is certainly a big deal. And if this initiative is able to improve outcomes at this respect, we will be really delighted to be part of it and to help you out and to actually help disseminate the messages that you have for World Brain Day 2021.
Oh, that would be tremendous, Elena. We would be delighted to have you on board, and I'm sure the WFN trustees and leadership would accept Lancet from both hands. It's actually tremendously satisfying to see how World Brain Day has grown. I won't name people because there were many people who involved bringing this concept. It started with the networking and the dissemination of knowledge. A bunch of us met up at American Academy of Neurology meetings, and then American Academy of Neurology provided us with leadership training camps and opportunities, advocacy. We learned those terms. You were publishing those pieces from the very beginning, supporting neurologists to learn advocacy skills. And then I remember, as a sort of a passing remark in 2013, several of us were chatting to Professor Vladimir Hachinsky, who was the president at that time, that perhaps we should have a dedicated day to talk about brain. We now know that brain disorders are the leading cause of disability, but we still have countries without neurologists. Those countries with neurologists, there is not enough training positions. Those countries with neurologists and neurology department, not enough research funds or other support. So there is whole heaps of things that needed to do. And then with 2017, you publishing the landmark GBD paper, which we launched as the platform speech from the colleague and friend Valerie Fagin. We told the world that for the first time, that what we knew for some time, that neurological disorders are a big deal. And then when we started World Brain Day campaign in 2014, we didn't think that we would go through close to 100 million people, reaching the out to the material that we create. This year, our agenda is we want Lancet neurology readers and other the folks who read other journals to visit our website and download the toolkit. Even if they don't visit our website, just post something in their Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or any social media, just talking about brain. They support brain health. They endorse World Brain Day, because our brains basically make who we are. Without our brains, we are basically nothing. And again, the pandemic basically shown us when we see bad aspects of humanity and exceptional aspects of humanity at the same time from all countries, how critically important brain health, human behavior, mental health is. My wife is a psychiatrist, and I always tell her that mental health doesn't come from your foot; it comes from brain, and we both basically deal with the same organ.
Same, yes.
There are no sort of organic and non-organic psychiatric disorders. Every psychiatric disorder is organic. It just,
of course, let me mention that we work with our colleagues of the Lancet Psychiatry very closely here as well. Yes.
So the we are still married and no intention to get divorced or anything, and but the debate continue to occur. The Elena, outside your editorial work and outside science, how would you pass time? What other things that you do when you get some spare time? Are you interested in music, movies, books?
Yeah, I think I am, but not to a degree to be to have a particularly a particular interest in a particular hobby that will make me particularly original.
Right.
I like actually not cooking. I am a very bad cook, an awful cook, but I very much like eating good food. And so I'm particularly fond of sophisticated cooking and new restaurants.
Right.
So that's yeah, one of my favorite pastimes to read about chefs and their work and their experimental cuisine. Yes, so that's a pastime. And but apart from that, I think perhaps a little bit of history reading, philosophy, and yeah, that's
excellent. So tell us to finish off this interview, as our viewers are from global community, what is your message to youngsters, whether they are representing basic science community or neurology community or allied health nursing community, promoting brain health? If a high school kid come to you for your advice, or a young neurology trainee come to your advice, what do you say to them?
Well, I will say to them that they need to be optimistic, because actually we are entering the new roaring 20s, right? And things will be better, and they will be better because of them, because the opportunities are tremendous in this field, and if interested in science, it is difficult to think of any aspect of science that is more appealing than brain sciences at this time point. I think that over the next 20 years or so, what we are going to see is going to be spectacular, absolutely spectacular and groundbreaking. And definitely, if I will have children of high school age or entering university, obviously my recommendation will be for them to get into brain science and clinical research if possible. Also because I think that neurobiology and neuroscience provides a very, very good background that makes other scientific fields easier to understand, I think. But obviously that some people might disagree. In any case, I think they're just fun. There's nothing funnier than looking into the brain. It's just a full universe of a complexity beyond. I mean, there's nothing comparable to such degree of complexity. So I don't know. You are either an astronaut or you are a neurologist, right? But kind of parallel endeavors. Yeah, the galaxy out there and the brain here. So yeah.
Indeed, I think the Eastern philosophers, I can't remember who said this. I read somewhere that someone wrote 3,000, 4,000 years ago, possibly from ancient India. Obviously, that part wasn't called India at that time. It have been called a different country at that time. This particular philosopher basically make the similarity between unlimited connections in galaxies and similar unlimited connections in mind. He said, we know that the mind and brain has a very intimate connection, and it's basically it's all about us and why we behave in a particular way at a particular time is probably the most fun thing that one could ever do. I think this pandemic is probably, as it continued to unfold in front of us, it would probably leave so many questions for us to answer as we go on board. And you're absolutely right. I think next 20 years or so going to be probably the most exciting times on our planet Earth.
Especially so if our policymakers have extracted the very obvious conclusions from the pandemic, meaning that there is no proper economy without proper health, right? So health and economy, they come together and they're absolutely linked. And if you have an economic problem that is, in many respects, a health problem, or the other way around, scientists can sort that out for you. So it seems to me that it is fairly obvious that scientists deserve much bigger investment in what they do now, in view of what has happened with the vaccination, with the treatment, and with all the
100%
aspects of the pandemic.
100% agree with your comment.
And the quicker we go with this, the quicker it will be, the economic recovery will be quicker as well.
Once you resurrect the health and saved human lives and human health, humans are smart creatures. They will sort out economy in almost no time. I think the other mistake most political leaders continue to do is trying to treat this as a national problem. I mean, it is plainly obvious that there's only one enemy in this war. That is SARS coronavirus 2. That's the one and only enemy. And the impact of that is global. The current lockdown that we are in Melbourne, although we had a really nice honeymoon for some months, indeed came from Asia, despite the lockdowns and not having frequent travel allowed. Still virus, the mutated virus found its way. The Delta variant and Kappa variant both found its way to Melbourne. And that's how we are in the fourth phase of lockdown at this point of time. But the public health experts and contact tracing teams are phenomenal. They're basically taking control of that with long sort of 15-hour shifts and other things. It's like real war, Elena, and it's you feel so proud of being a healthcare worker at this point of time to see what your colleagues are doing. But that said, personally, I think we still should treat this as a global issue, and our agenda to vaccinate people must be global, and those countries which has the means to support other countries should do that.
And that's perhaps another message to be shared with the young people that you brought up before, because by getting into science, they will be provided with a language that is a global language, and they can speak with everyone, regardless of the state, the region, or the place where they are performing the science in. So I think that's one of the top beauties of science: the rational appeal, of course, but also the fact that findings have no borders.
Oh, the 100%. I think the contrary to political leaders, scientists got this straight away right at the very beginning of the pandemic. People start preprint servers. You could basically, whatever the subject that you are interested in it, with the split second click, you could basically download what's happening anywhere in the world. And you can get Google to translate things for you also. Or you have colleagues who can speak multiple languages, who would translate press conferences and other things. We basically get knowledge within minutes when things are happening. And I think the scientific community globally, as you know from your manuscripts, nowadays they are very rarely single author manuscripts. They come from men, women, all parts of the world. We put things together. I think you try hard to fix your time for various global committee meetings these days at nightly and weekends. Thank you so much, Elena, for giving us your time today. And we hope this would be of use for our viewers and they would continue to inspire and they would be kind and compassionate and nice to each other and continue to maintain humanity in this human world for a long, long, long time. Even both of us are gone in some time to come for the future.
Yes, I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic.
Likewise. I think we would see a better world at the end of this difficult time. And normally smart humans extract best bits out of their brain to solve these
Absolutely.
problems.
The work on the vaccines have been extraordinary, and then the work of clinicians and health professionals worldwide has been extraordinary. And the scientists behind them, the virologists and infectious disease people and everybody else supporting them. So I think we have good reasons to look at the future with optimism.
Stay safe and stay well, and take care.
I hope I get to see you soon.
Likewise.